to the Thought Snob Podcast. I'm Paula Swope. Let's get snobby. If you're struggling with your health, this episode is a must listen. The 3 practices I'm about to share are beneficial and crucial for anyone dealing with frequent illness or a chronic disease. And I'm not about to give you a lecture about eating right and exercising. This goes way beyond that. Stick with me and you'll discover how these practices can transform your health. Plus, the quality of your health is highly connected to your ability to attract what you want. If you haven't been able to do that, it might be because you're neglecting your health. There's no secret to conscious creation. And when I say conscious creation, I'm talking about manifestation. I avoid using that word, manifestation, because social media has turned it into something gimmicky. And the word manifestation is trendy these days. There's nothing trendy about this. It's timeless and backed by science. For those of you who believe in the Bible, manifestation is referenced throughout the scripture everywhere. When you hear people say you can manifest something in 24 hours or 3 days or whatever, that's bullshit. Unless you're a person who has done extensive inner work and you feel excellent. We attract what we are. So if you're sick and you don't feel well most of the time, you'll have difficulty attracting what you want. That's another reason why it's incredibly important to take excellent care of yourself. And this episode is all about helping you do that without spending any money. So I was motivated to focus the content of this episode on health because September is Interstitial Cystitis Awareness Month. This is a rare, misunderstood bladder condition that is incurable. It is commonly referred to as IC. I was diagnosed with IC a few years ago and suffered with it for a long time, but I am now asymptomatic, which is quite rare among IC patients, and I cured myself using the 3 things I'm going to talk about in just a minute. Before we dive in, let's be clear. I am not a medical doctor, and I don't dispense medical advice. I have immense respect for the healing powers of our medical professionals. However, I firmly believe that we are the captains of our health. It's up to us to steer towards preventative practices that ensure our well-being. For me, a combination of Western medicine and holistic practices has been the magic potion. The 3 things I'm teaching you today fit within the holistic realm, just so you know. So I'm certified in Ayurveda Health by the Chopra Center and the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. So, I am qualified to give you advice about improving your health. The ultimate goal is to live longer and feel good throughout your lifespan. And you might be surprised about one benefit you'll enjoy if you integrate these 3 practices I'm about to teach you. That one benefit is becoming a magnet for the things you want most. Because feeling good most of the time will get you to that abundant frequency. I have experienced this myself. Much of what I'm about to tell you is rooted in Ayurvedic practices. If you aren't familiar with Ayurveda, it's a 5,000-year-old healing system that originated in India. Since I have integrated Ayurvedic practices into my daily life, I feel better than I ever have. And I'm a 47-year-old post-menopausal woman. There's something to be said about that right there. It's a consciousness-based approach to health and healing, and its purpose is to help us return to our natural state of health, balance, and wholeness. Now, this might surprise you, but Ayurveda is experiential, which means that the choices you make about your experiences change your body, including your choices about food, personal relationships, sensory experiences, sleep, work, social interactions, and your daily routines. Here's where it gets interesting, and this piece of knowledge right here changed my life forever, so listen closely. I don't know about you, but I was raised to believe that I had little to no control over my health when it came to diseases that ran in my family. I hear people say all the time that they're going to get heart disease, diabetes, breast cancer, and so on, because they know they will inherit those. This is absolutely false, and you can fact check me. I want you to fact check me on what I'm about to tell you. While 95% of disease-related gene mutations increase your risk factors for disease, they don't predict the disease. For example, simply carrying a genetic mutation that predisposes you to heart disease does not mean you're destined to develop it. Now, I'm using heart disease as an example only. This applies to other diseases as well. Only 5% of disease-related gene mutations are fully penetrant, which means that the gene directly causes a disorder. You have control over this through your daily lifestyle choices. You can optimize how your genes behave by turning on the genes that promote good health and turning off the genes that promote illnesses like heart disease. Ayurveda can help you make daily choices that turn the good genes on and the bad genes off. And the 3 practices I'm about to discuss turn on those good genes. Ayurvedic practices change health at a cellular level, altering gene expression. That's a huge deal. Okay, let's dive into these 3 practices. I'll start with the most important one, which is guaranteed to improve your health. Reducing inflammation. The first thing is reducing inflammation. It's the key to longevity and not being stuck in some frail, sick body at 80 years old. I'm talking about being resilient, strong, and energetic until you're 100 years old. It's possible, I promise. The number one thing you need to do daily is reduce inflammation in your physiology. Inflammation is the root cause of nearly every disease known to man. What causes inflammation? Overactivity of the sympathetic nervous system, which is our fight, flight, freeze system. That's a fancy way of saying stress. If you're in fight, flight, freeze most of the time, or all the time, your stress hormone levels increase, and that causes inflammation. It also causes a weakened immune system, high blood pressure, cardiac arrhythmias, and stress is associated with hypertension, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome, cardiovascular disease, degenerative disease, and cancer. Unhealthy addictive behaviors often accompany stress, especially chronic stress. I have no problem telling you that when I was under chronic stress back in the day, I was a binge drinker, and that destroyed my health. So I have had bad habits too. But I got to a point where I was so sick of being sick and never getting what I wanted that I decided to let go of everything that made me miserable. Misery and happiness cannot coexist. So you must be willing to let go of things that make your life a living hell. And that's what this episode is about. I'm trying to help you do that. There is a big difference between being stressed here and there and being stressed all the time. Being stressed here and there is called acute stress. It's short term. Not a big deal. Here's an example. I was driving home the other day and I got stalled in a traffic jam. I wasn't in a hurry, so I didn't get stressed out over the time, but I was stalled on a bridge for about 15 minutes. That makes me nervous. It stresses me out. But the moment I got off that bridge, the stress was gone immediately. Not a big deal. Chronic stress is long-term. That's the killer. It lasts for weeks or months or maybe years. Here's an example of what happened to me when I was under chronic stress for an extended period. In December 2017, my mother nearly died at our house on Christmas Eve with congestive heart failure. By December 28th, we learned her aortic valve was closed, and the only way for her to survive was to undergo open heart surgery. So she did. And she recovered, and she's living her best life now. However, I was her primary caretaker for many months, and that also involved financial struggles. At times, it felt like more than I could possibly handle, and I was probably more stressed than I ever had been in my life. There was no relief for about 4 to 5 months, and I behaved like a robot. Now, I succeeded admirably in taking care of her and ensuring her finances were in order, but it just about put me under. It was terrible. And I wasn't able to sleep as much as I needed. Will and I lived in an older house at that time, and Mom stayed with us during her recovery. She was on oxygen for about 2 months. And the oxygen machine would blow the breakers and shut off the electricity. Now, when that happened, she lost her oxygen supply, and that was scary. If the breakers blew in the middle of the night, I wouldn't know it. And if she was out cold, well, she wouldn't know it. She could have died without her oxygen supply. So after this happened several times, I moved to the couch next to her makeshift hospital bed we had set up for her in our living room. And I slept on that couch with one eye open so that I could, hear her oxygen machine beep when it shut off. That was ridiculously stressful. My immune system was shot after she got back on her feet and was self-sufficient again. I was so tired that I still felt exhausted no matter how much sleep I got. I drank too much alcohol to try and relieve the stress, but that always makes it worse, and that interferes with sleep. My blood pressure and heart rate shot up and stayed way too high for way too long. I got nasty head colds that year, and those just wore me down. It took a while to bounce back from everything the chronic stress caused. And because I felt so poorly, I dealt with some drama that year that I hadn't dealt with in a long time. But that's what worrying does. Worrying attracts everything you don't want, especially when you're worried day in and day out. I mentioned IC earlier. During this time, my IC symptoms were worse than ever. And it was because the chronic stress was causing inflammation to build up in my body. I think I've painted a pretty good picture of what chronic stress and inflammation look like in a real-life scenario. So let's move on to reducing inflammation. The parasympathetic nervous system counters stress. That's our rest and digest system. When we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and I'll tell you how to do that in just a moment, we enter a state of restful awareness, and our body goes into a state of self-regulation. This decreases inflammation. Here's an anatomy lesson. I had never heard about the vagus nerve until I started studying under Dr. Deepak Chopra, and I'm telling you that Deepak will take you to church when he talks about the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the most important part of our parasympathetic nervous system. It's the longest cranial nerve in our body, It's often referred to as the healing nerve due to its role in regulating our involuntary functions, including our subconscious mind. Now, our subconscious is where our memories, karmic imprints, and desires reside, shaping our interpretations of the world. Understanding the vagus nerve's function will deepen your self-awareness and enhance your ability to relax and heal. You need to do something to stimulate your vagus nerve daily, and there are many ways to do that. Now, for the sake of time, I'll go over 3 ways to do this. None of these techniques require equipment or monetary investment. All you need is you. If you can breathe, you can use these techniques. The first one is meditation. Meditation activates the vagus nerve. If you don't meditate, I get it. I'm not going to tell you to meditate if you hate it. But I will tell you this. Meditation doesn't need to be rigid or structured. You don't have to sit a certain way or breathe a certain way, or you need to do what feels right for you. It's all about going within and finding silence. And society takes us away from that stillness and silence. Silence counters stress from building up, but society causes stress. So get out of society, find the silence at least once daily, and a little meditation is better than none. So don't feel like you have to spend a bunch of time on it. When someone tells you over and over again that you can't have what you want, you believe it. And those beliefs, unless they are interrupted, have the power to destroy your life. This book takes you on a journey of self-assessment, self-reflection, and self-empowerment, but it's not a quick fix. It's a playbook to a better life. And if you emulate my spiritual teachings, your life won't look the same 1 year from now. I want you to know that if you want something, you're meant to have it. That burning desire that you've always had is there for a reason. Your intuition tells you that you are supposed to do whatever you want to do, and that's why the burning desire never goes away. You may have shut it out a time or two in your lifetime, but it always comes back. Together, we're going to bring that burning desire to life. You can attract whatever you want, regardless of your past and present circumstances. When we're done with your spiritual transformation, those who have treated you badly will wish they hadn't. Miracles aren't reserved for the saints. We sinners are just as entitled to miracles, so let's go get yours. Here's a meditation you can use that's a form of primordial sound meditation. I'm certified to teach primordial sound meditation, and I used it to reduce enough inflammation in my body to become asymptomatic from IC. My immunity is stronger than it's ever been, and so are my energy levels. So the meditation I'm about to teach you is called the So Hum meditation. So Hum. So Hum is a silent Sanskrit mantra that gets you in the gap quicker. Now, getting in the gap means transcending all thoughts and awareness. And in that space between your thoughts is where you can access infinite possibilities. But don't go into any meditation with any goals or expectations. Just meditate. Don't judge. And know that all meditations are different. They're like snowflakes. So whatever happens, happens. No two meditations will be the same. Don't try to transcend, and don't try to stop your thoughts. This is where a lot of people screw up. You will have thoughts during meditation, and you should. I mean, that's normal. But what I want you to do is observe the thoughts as they roll in without judgment. and let them go, just let them go by gently, okay? And choose the mantra. Just let those thoughts go by gently choosing the mantra. When your mind starts to race, just go back to thinking your mantra. So hum. You don't say it out loud. You just think it. It's a sound. You hear that in your mind. So hum. So I'll give you a quick demonstration, and everything I just said will make more sense after that, especially if you've never meditated before. If you're driving right now, don't close your eyes, of course. Just listen and follow along and try this meditation technique when you're in a quiet place where you can safely close your eyes. Now, if you're in a place where you can close your eyes, then just go ahead and do that. And breathe normally. And just rest in silence for a moment. Now, silently start repeating the mantra. So hum. So hum. Hear the sound of so hum. And when a thought surfaces, just choose the mantra. So hum. You can only think one thought at a time, so keep choosing the mantra. Now do this on your own for 1 minute, and I'll keep the time. Now you can release the mantra and just rest in awareness for a moment. And when you're ready, open your eyes. This is a condensed version of the So Hum meditation practice, but it's a great version to use to see if you like silent mantra meditations. If you do, and you want to know more about the So Hum meditation, it is fully outlined in Chapter 3 of my book, Thought Snob, The Modern Spiritual Playbook for a Better Life. If you love using the So Hum meditation and want to venture on to the sophisticated version of primordial sound meditation, I can help you make that happen. Visit paulaswope.com to learn more about this meditation and contact me if you would like to be trained in it. That does require a monetary investment, but if you're interested, we can talk about that. So it's best to meditate for 20 to 30 minutes in the mornings, and then again for 20 to 30 minutes in the early evenings. But I can't stress this enough. A little meditation is better than none. Don't throw in the towel because you think you don't have time to meditate. Do what you can, even if it's 2 minutes. The benefits of primordial sound meditation are backed by science. It reduces inflammation in the physiology, and there are numerous empirical studies that back up my claim. Now, I encourage you to visit Deepak Chopra's website or chopra.com and take a look at those studies. Before I move on to tell you about the second technique, I want to share some scientific research about primordial sound meditation that blows my mind. Scientific studies have shown that primordial sound meditation lengthens telomeres. Telomeres are like these little caps on the end of chromosomes, and toxins and stress shorten those telomeres. When that happens, the chromosomes aren't protected. Research shows, now get a load of this, that shortened telomeres are involved in every known disease. Regardless of what health challenges you're concerned about the most, chances are good that shrinking telomeres play a role. Practicing a healing meditation like primordial sound meditation consistently increases the length of our telomeres. The result is better well-being and healthier biological age. Primordial sound meditation impacts gene expression, what I was talking about earlier. It turns the genes up that reduce inflammation and turns the genes down that cause inflammation. My intention for sharing that information with you is to inspire you and show you that you do have significant control over your health and how long you live. Just think about if all of us had started meditating when we were like in kindergarten, right? All right, let's move on to the second technique, pranayama. Like meditation, you need no equipment to do this or monetary investment. You can start doing pranayama right now, and I will show you how. Pranayama is the practice of consciously using the breath to enhance our physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. The mind, body, and breath are inextricably connected. Our breathing is affected by our thoughts, and our thoughts and physiology are influenced by our breath. For example, when our mind is caught up in fearful thoughts, our sympathetic nervous system triggers our fight, flight, freeze response. Our breathing speeds up and becomes shallow. And our body creates a surge of stress hormones, such as cortisol and adrenaline, which increase our blood pressure and heart rate. On the other hand, when our mind is calm and our breathing is deep and rhythmic, and our body engages its natural self-repair and self-healing mechanisms, okay? In this state, our parasympathetic nervous system, or rest and digest system, is dominant. Now, while it may be difficult to control your thoughts sometimes, you can always control your breath. By consciously taking slower, deeper breaths, you can activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which reverses the stress response, allowing the body to relax and restore its memory of wholeness. Your breath is so powerful that it can actually change your mind. Researchers have documented the benefits of a regular practice of slow, rhythmic breathing, and those benefits are improved cognitive functions, increased mindful awareness, reduced anxiety and depression, lower stabilized blood pressure, increased energy levels, muscle relaxation, decreased feelings of stress and overwhelm. This is why the medical community is becoming increasingly aware of the positive impact that breathing fully can have on physiology, both in the mind and the body. Research shows that many deep breathing benefits can be attributed to reducing the stress response in the body and activating the parasympathetic response. In addition, breathing fully can also help calm and slow down the emotional turbulence in your mind. There are studies that show breath work can help treat depression, anxiety, and PTSD by reducing activity in stress parts of the brain and increasing activity in parts of the brain that regulate emotions. If you practice every day for just a few minutes, you'll reprogram your nervous system and experience both immediate and long-term benefits. Studies show that you should practice for a minimum of 10 minutes a day, so here's an easy technique for you to try. When someone tells you over and over again that you can't have what you want, you believe it. And those beliefs, unless they are interrupted, have the power to destroy your life. This book takes you on a journey of self-assessment, self-reflection, and self-empowerment, but it's not a quick fix. It's a playbook to a better life. And if you emulate my spiritual teachings, your life won't look the same 1 year from now. I want you to know that if you want something, you're meant to have it. That burning desire that you've always had is there for a reason. Your intuition tells you that you are supposed to do whatever you want to do, and that's why the burning desire never goes away. You may have shut it out a time or two in your lifetime, but it always comes back. Together, we're going to bring that burning desire to life. You can attract whatever you want, regardless of your past and present circumstances. When we're done with your spiritual transformation, those who have treated you badly will wish they hadn't. Miracles aren't reserved for the saints. We sinners are just as entitled to miracles, so let's go get yours. Coherence breathing is a very simple breathing technique in which the length of your inhalations and exhalations will follow a set ratio. This pranayama technique has been shown to offer a variety of healing benefits. Reduced inflammation being number one. Strengthened immune system. Decreased anxiety and depression. Improved sleep, and increased resilience. Now, here's how you practice coherence breathing. You can sit or lie down on your back. It doesn't matter what position you're in as long as you're comfortable. That's the most important thing. Just get comfortable so you can relax. When you've found a comfortable position, relax your eyes downward with a soft gaze and find your natural breath. Allow your body to relax and feel safe. And once you're relaxed, place your hands on your belly. When you begin the breathing exercise, your belly rises with the inhale and falls on the exhale. Let's start the exercise. And if you're driving along in your car, you can absolutely do this with me right now. Just keep them eyes open. Now, when you're ready, I want you to inhale through your nose to a count of 4. Then exhale for a count of 5. You'll repeat this for 8 to 10 rounds. On the inhale, you want your belly to come out into your hands. Think of it as filling up like a balloon. And when you exhale, you deflate the balloon. So inhale through your nose to the count of 4 and feel that belly come out into your hands. And then exhale to a count of 5 and feel your belly going back in. That's all you do. Once you practice coherence breathing on a regular basis, you'll find that simply taking a few coherence breaths will help you immediately calm your nervous system whenever you find yourself feeling stressed or anxious. Now, I want to explain diaphragmatic breathing and the purpose of placing the hands on the belly. Usually we aren't mindful of our breathing and we breathe through our chest. When you practice coherence breathing, ideally, your chest should hardly move at all. When you focus your awareness on the rise and fall of the belly, you encourage diaphragmatic breathing. So breathing through the diaphragm allows the lungs to expand deeply by contracting the diaphragm. The belly will rise and fall without any movement in the chest. That's why it's good to keep your hands on your belly so you can feel it. Diaphragmatic movement provides healthy movement to the abdominal organs and pelvic floor. So if you have IC or pelvic floor dysfunction, coherence breathing might provide some relief. The third and final inflammation reducer I will pass along is oil pulling. Oil pulling is an Ayurvedic practice that has been used for thousands of years to detoxify the body and promote good health. It's a simple practice that you perform soon after waking up, before eating or brushing your teeth. It removes the unhealthy bacteria and other toxins that accumulate in your mouth, thereby reducing plaque and inflammation. Oil pulling promotes healthy gums and teeth. It helps to eliminate bad breath. It purifies the taste buds, which enhances your enjoyment of food. It nourishes the mucous membranes of the mouth. Oil pulling exercises the muscles of the face and jaw. So oil pulling is a healthy alternative to using commercial mouthwashes that contain artificial sweeteners, synthetic colorings, and toxic chemicals. The benefits of oil pulling may extend beyond good oral hygiene. In the Ayurvedic tradition, each section of the tongue is connected to a different organ location, including the lungs, heart, kidneys, liver, small intestines, colon, stomach, and spine. Thoroughly swishing the mouth with oil stimulates all regions of the tongue and therefore purifies and nourishes the entire mind-body system. Can you believe that? All you do is take a tablespoon or so, you don't need much, of high-quality oil and swish it gently in your mouth, making sure to pull it back and forth through your teeth. Doing this every morning for 20 minutes is a best practice, but you don't have to go that long. If you can, great. But here's what I do. I keep my oil beside my toothbrush on my bathroom sink. When I wake up, I immediately start my oil pulling, and I do it while I'm carrying out my morning routine, which takes about 10 minutes, sometimes 15, sometimes 20. So I do the oil pulling as long as I can. After you're done swishing the oil around, spit it out and wash your mouth out with warm water. So easy, so easy. Now traditionally, sesame or coconut oil is used for oil pulling, but any high quality oil can be used. I use safflower oil. Okay, on to a totally different healing modality for improving your health. The first one was reducing inflammation, and the second one is to stop the hateful, disempowering self-talk. Did you know that you can talk yourself into being sick? You can. I used to do it. And I cringe when I hear people do it in this day and time, and I have to bite my tongue to keep from correcting them. So here's what I'm talking about. Back in the day, between the ages of probably 3 or 4 and way on into my 30s, I stayed sick. You've probably heard me talk about that before. When I was much younger, my mother told me repeatedly that I was puny and more prone to sickness than others. I wholeheartedly adopted that belief about myself, and I paid the price for it. It was stupid. The main thing that plagued my existence for over 30 fucking years was wicked head colds. I'd get those things 3 to 4 times a year, and I always had one around December. Always. When I was in college, I would plan ahead for the sickness. I'm dead serious. I did this. In random conversations, I would say to people, well, let's not plan that trip for December because I'll be sick. And sure enough, I was. Like clockwork. With me, it would begin with a sniffle and that icky feeling. You just don't feel right. And I would think, okay, how many days do I have before I'm full blown with this? And I would figure out a time frame and prepare to be down for the count. I would cancel plans and stock up on my head cold supplies. Let's say I woke up on a Monday not feeling well. I would think ahead and plan to be out of class or work at the end of the week. My behavior was absolutely ridiculous. I spoke sickness into existence. I created it, made space for it. The best thing I ever did for myself was ditch that stupid lie about myself that controlled my behaviors for way over 3 decades. At this stage in my life, I rarely get sick. If I get a head cold, it's once a year, if that. I mean, those sick days, it's over. It's done. I let it go. Don't want no part of it. The other day I was talking to someone. I don't even remember who it was, but I remember how I felt when they said what they said. They told me that they always got COVID on their birthday, and their birthday was coming up, so they weren't making plans because they knew they would have COVID. That's exactly what I used to do. When I became more enlightened, educated, and aware, I reclaimed my power. I knew that if I could create poor health, I could create excellent health. And that's what I did. Each time that old belief popped up, and believe me, it popped up about 10,000 times, probably more, I replaced it with a new belief about myself. My mantra was, and still is, I am perfect health. Each time that stupid lie about me being prone to sickness haunted me, I chose a different thought. I am perfect health. I suggest that you find a mantra that tells the universe how you want to feel and who you are. Use that mantra when disempowering thoughts surface. And remember, you are not your thoughts. Thoughts aren't always facts. We have somewhere around 60,000 thoughts daily, maybe even more. And like 90-something% of those are negative and repetitive. You can get control of those stupid thoughts with mindful awareness. When your thoughts start to spiral into some ridiculous story, just stop what you're doing, be fully present, and ask yourself, is this true? Is this really true? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. Then, tell your mind to stop and say, not now. Not now. If you continue to interrupt crazy, disempowering thoughts, they will eventually subside. I promise. I used to be the queen of racing thoughts. I don't have racing thoughts anymore. Meditation helps with that too. So the third and final thing is eliminating people from your life who have nothing to offer and cause you problems. We commonly refer to these people as toxic. And that's the perfect word for these energy thieves. I want you to think about how you feel when you're around abusive people. The primary emotions associated with abuse are sadness, anger, resentment, hostility, guilt, and shame. And I used to wake up thinking about how to get revenge against these people. That's not good. because those emotions, when carried around for extended periods of time, will cause sickness. For me, I carried them around for years. In my book, I present you with some research about this. And there is one source that I cite that shows associating with toxic people, it's as hazardous to your health as eating toxic waste. Seriously, this is true. Because guess what? Associating closely with an abusive person who wants to see you fail causes daily stressors. And when those linger, they accumulate and turn into chronic stress. Well, you now know what chronic stress does. It causes inflammation, and inflammation causes disease. I was sick all the time when toxic people surrounded me. I had to let them go, and it was hard. I had to make a lot of tough decisions. But when I realized how much damage I was causing myself by staying in close contact with people who subconsciously hated me, or maybe even consciously hated me, I developed a new fear. I became fearful of being anywhere near those people. And that was a good fear to have for a while because it held me accountable. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to sit down and make a list of the people closest to you. Then, I want you to think about how you feel when you're around them and how you feel after you leave their presence. And be honest. If you identify any disempowering, low-vibe feelings, you need to start viewing these people as inflammation, because that's what they are. Now, these folks don't go silently in the night, usually. And if you need help with eliminating these diseases from your life, I can help you do it. It's all lined out in this playbook right here. The first step to eliminating toxic people is awareness. You got to become aware of how people make you feel. My intuition is the same as evidential proof. I know when someone's wrong for me. It doesn't mean they're a bad person. It means they're bad for me. Once you can become aware of who is right for you and who is wrong for you, you'll become a magnet for anything you want. You can manifest things through people. I don't know if you know that or not, but you can. Which means you can manifest things that you want and don't want. That's what you need to know. We're always manifesting. Everything about your physical reality right now is the result of your most dominant feelings. So it's safe to assume that if you never get what you want, you're around people who are blocking you. The right people will bring abundance into your life, but the wrong people will block it with a vengeance. They don't want you to have it. Get rid of the blockers discreetly, but unapologetically. Never feel guilty for eliminating anything that doesn't enhance your life. Quality is worth way more than quantity. You can love everyone and not like them. And I'll close with this. Don't get self-improvement and spirituality mixed up with unattainable expectations for yourself. Now, what I mean by this is that just because you've decided to go after the best version of yourself does not mean that you have to like everybody. It's not even possible. That's not what this is about. This is about you being healthy and happy and getting what you want. And you cannot obtain those three things with energy thieves around. You can't. Just accept that right now. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening. If you like my style, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Podcasts are absolutely free, so subscribing and leaving a review is a great way to pay it forward and express gratitude for all this life-changing information you just received. See you next time.
The Thought Snob Podcast with Paulaswope has been brought to you by Snob Media in association with Special Purpose Studios. All production, mixing, and sound engineering by me, Will Swope. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Please take a few seconds to give us 5 stars and leave a review. See you on the next Thought Snob podcast with Paula Swope.